Looks like we're live.
Oh, we are. You're right. Thanks, Nathan. Oh, well, thanks everybody for joining us, and we're sorry for being tardy today, but this is, as promised, our special broadcast of our Freedom Friday. We'll be talking about the recent executive order to establish a COVID-19 vaccine mandate for school children. I'm here with my colleagues Nathan Pierce from Family Protection Ministries. Hi, Nathan. Thanks for joining
I,
in. And John McGowan Esquire from Chia, California. Thank you, John, as well
Right.
for jumping in here on unscheduled time.
No
Uh,
problem.
so on Friday, October 1st, Team Chia was very busy getting ready, reviewing the private school affidavit. It's released every October 1st, and so we like to review it and update our instructions on how to help families file a private school affidavit. But the governor gave us something else to do as well. It was not long before my phone was blowing up with concerned team members and homeschool leaders across the state saying, did you see this mandate? Does this apply to our homeschool children? Can the governor do that? When is this supposed to happen? On a myriad of questions. So I thought this is a really good time for us to try to settle and resolve some of the confusion and answer some of those questions. So I think the first question I'd like to take a look at is, can the so many family couple I shouldn't say so many families, a couple of families asked me, can the governor do this? I thought he didn't have any, he can't make any rules pertaining to private schools anyway because of the recent Ninth Circuit Court decision. So what is the governor doing? What can he do, and how's it really supposed to be done?
Yeah, so I can address how it may or may not relate to that Ninth Circuit case that we've been talking about, and it really that it does not apply. Let me just start by saying that Ninth Circuit case that dealt with the governor's order to shut down the schools during the pandemic, both public and private. It doesn't directly relate to this. I should say that it doesn't directly relate to this. So, that dealt with an entirely different set of facts. It does not create precedent here. That was a standalone executive order that closed schools. This is an executive order that directs the California Department of Public Health to develop rules and guidelines pursuant to regulations and statutes that are already in place. Okay, so what the governor has done here is told the public health department to follow guidelines and statutes that were put in place to insert new vaccines into the requirements for public and private schools. So it's a little bit different than what he did before. Now that doesn't mean there's not going to be legal challenges or there can't be legal challenges, but just because we had a victory over there with some very different facts doesn't mean it's going to translate perfectly here. Now, don't get me wrong, we like to see any court anywhere under any set of facts find that parents, in particular private school or homeschool parents, have a good set of rights to fall back on and protect themselves. So it doesn't mean nothing, but it's not going to be a direct one-to-one relationship.
Hmm. Okay, I see. Thank you. And I don't know if you had something you wanted to add to that, Nathan, or of a clarifying nature. I know, we talked about the fact that this does apply to private school students as well as public schools, but will it apply to all public and private school students, even those that are receiving their instruction primarily in the home?
yeah, that's a great question, and um, I think the important thing to remember, like John said, is that there's stuff in the statute already with regard to vaccines that we're pretty familiar with how there are requirements for a list of vaccines for enrollment and participation in school at the public schools. And those same requirements apply to campus private schools. The exclusions that are written into the code, and this isn't the health and safety code, the exclusions that have been written in there are for independent learning or at home-based instruction. And there's two parts to that. There's public, and there's a kind of a narrow group under charter schools that would fit into that exclusion, where if you're at an independent study program with a charter school, you're excluded. And then there's the home-based private education exclusion, which is what we normally are working with, whether you're working in your home under a PSP, a private school satellite program, or umbrella school, or whether you filed your own private school affidavit and you have your own school in your own home. Those are excluded from the requirements of the vaccines in the code.
Those are currently there.
Yes,
Okay.
those are currently there. And there's another piece in that portion of the code that also says that in addition to that list of vaccines that are required for attendance at school, there's another way that somebody can add more vaccines. As John mentioned, that's what the governor is speaking to here with his latest mandate, and that is directing the CDPH to create regulations to add another item to that list. And there's kind of an extra caveat with adding something to that list through regulation instead of through legislation. If the regulations add an item to that list, another vaccine to that required list, then there has to be a personal beliefs exemption for it.
Okay.
And that's something that the items currently on the list in the code don't have. So the personal beliefs exemption that's referenced with regard to this new mandate specifically relates to a vaccine, in this case, the COVID-19 vaccine, added by regulation as opposed to added by legislation. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't come back later, which I think they will definitely try to do, come back later with legislation and add it to the list in the statute, in which case that personal beliefs exemption would not apply anymore if they add it to the list in the actual code.
Okay. Well, that's concerning then.
It is.
So many parents we've talked to this week have said, well, at least we'll have the personal belief exemption. But that maybe isn't quite the sense of security. This situation doesn't really give them the confidence that will be there for them when the time comes.
Right. It could be there for a little while until the next battle comes, which would be getting it added to the code itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely concerning, and it's definitely something that we need to be watching very carefully for when that comes up to be something to fight over, because it's definitely worth fighting over adding that to the list.
Right. So, John, what's the likelihood of them changing legislation?
Well, I think it's 100% that there's going to be a bill to attempt to do it. So, I think that, given the nature and the leaning of the legislature, I think that it's going to be a battle to prevent it from happening. So I think, it's a near certainty that they're going to try to do it. There's a number of legislators who have already come out and said, this is what we need to do. This is not enough. With the exemption, with the personal belief exemption is no good. We need to codify it through the legislature. So they're gearing up to do that. So we need to be ready to obviously mobilize and educate and make people aware of their ability and really the need to get involved and voice their concerns and do all the things that Capitol Day and Nathan has been preaching and educating people on for so long. It's going to be time to put that into action, I think, almost certainly.
Yeah. And I think there's going to be multiple opportunities for engagement on this. There's a couple of points here with regard to how this goes into effect. One is, as John mentioned, this is the governor directing the CDPH to write regulations, and there's a process for that. That regulation process does have a window of time for public input. And it's not the same as showing up at the Capitol for a hearing or influencing our legislators, but there is an opportunity for input, and we need to engage there, which means we need to be watching for when those regulations do show up and start beginning to go through the process, so we can know when that window of time is that we can weigh in. And then next would be the legislative process, adding it to the actual code during the legislative cycle next year, or beyond that, but I kind of expect it to come up early next year. So we'll be watching for that. We watch regulations here every day, just like legislation. So it's something that's always on our radar for education, for health-related things that families care about anyway. So we're definitely watching for that, and definitely give some action items when it's time.
Okay, very good. That's so good to know. When will this when could this mandate potentially take effect? I mean, we know that we've seen LAUSD and San Diego already mandate vaccines, and the governor really invited any school district that wanted to initiate a vaccine. But what about this one, this one that comes from the state? When should parents be concerned that this will take effect?
Sure. So there will be some amount of time, depending on how closely they keep to this document that the governor's website has with regard to timing. But what's been stated is that as soon as the vaccine becomes fully approved by the FDA for a specific group, and they're splitting school-age children into two groups here. It's the 7th through 12th group, and then the K through 6th group. And they're treating each of those groups independently. So as soon as one of those groups, which it's most likely the 7th through 12th, is gonna be approved by the FDA first for receiving the vaccine, as soon as that group is approved for receiving it, it will be required at the beginning of the next semester. So say it gets approved tomorrow, it would then go through a process, and according to the governor's document, it would be required for school entry at the beginning of next year, January 1st, for the spring semester. If it doesn't get approved until the spring, which is what the governor's document is predicting, then it would start probably in July, which would mean it would affect things starting in the fall of next year. So it's a little hard to say. It's kind of vague, and it relies on a few outside things in order to know what that timeline is going to look like. It looks like we may have some time, but like you said, Rebecca, that's the statewide plan, and districts all over are considering or have already passed their own local mandates. So it could be coming to a district near you.
Okay, thank you, Nathan. And I just want to encourage parents that does give them some time. If they are opposed to giving their school-age child this vaccine, then it gives them some time to make plans for later on in the school year or next school year. Would that be accurate, John?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. This is a opportunity to make some plans to, not just for your children, obviously, to get involved and to keep an eye on, making some plans and being an advocate with the process, but certainly with an eye towards, the dates that Nathan has outlined for next year, some alternatives to, in-person schooling.
Right, and I just really wanted to make sure that we reiterated that because I have had to cover the phones myself some this week, and I hear the panic in the parents' voices. So many of them are, you know, have been concerned, perhaps haven't been very happy with the way things are going, and when it comes to forcing parents to make their children have medical treatments against their will. I think that's been the last straw. I think parents are, some of them are panicked about what they're going to do. And a lot of them are very, very incensed
Yeah.
that that a body of government could be telling them what they need to do for their children.
Well, that's certainly accurate for good reason too. And I think telling um, is that, this mandate, it just applies to the kids. It does not apply to the teachers or the staffs at the school. So
Actually, it does change the relationship with the teachers and the staff as well.
it does.
Right, yeah, because right now, that order that came down earlier this year that required all teachers to get either vaccinated or provide proof of testing. This particular order from the governor, and this has to fit somewhere into the regulations. It also says that the teachers will no longer be allowed to just get tested. It requires the teachers and staff, school personnel, to also be vaccinated in order to be at the schools.
Okay, my mistake. Thank you, Nathan.
So yeah, it does, but it doesn't go after anybody else but the kids and the school people, the school personnel. So there's a lot of people that it doesn't go after in our society.
Right. Right. I had derived a little bit of comfort from the fact that knowing teachers had the decision. I didn't like the fact that a negative test or a proof of vaccine was mandated, but at least they had the option. Whereas we know others, like in the medical field, were not given the option to test. It was vaccinate, or lose your job. So I want to just let parents know that are watching this, that we understand that this is concerning to you as parents, looking out for what the best interests of your children. And Chia is very concerned about this attack on parental rights. We believe parents need to be making these types of medical decisions for their children. Likewise, Family Protection Ministries. That's why we released our joint statement last week. If you decide that you want to remove your children from the classroom setting, Chia is releasing a new program called School Evacuation Plans, and we're taking some of our properties that have been reserved for our members only benefits. That's 4 webinars on how to get started homeschooling. We'll be releasing them 1 a week in the next 4 weeks, along with another instructive document on how to find a homeschool group for your families. We're making that free of charge. I know we haven't really had an opportunity to discuss this amongst us 3, but we can do this because of the generosity of our members and also the generosity of our donors. We can take this and make it free, but it's only going to be free for 1 month. So I just want to let you all know that. Now, our website, the access to all the information on our website is not going anywhere, but this is just a gift that we feel like we can give to parents and help walk them through measured, 1 week at a time, a new lesson on how to withdraw your children in homeschool, so that by the time, should this mandate actually come to pass, they will be able to have developed an evacuation plan, so to speak, for the children, without having to panic, without having to just make a snap decision, but they can, we'll walk you through it step by step. So I just want to let everybody know that that's coming. We'll be sending out an email, and it'll be on our Facebook page and on our groups as well. So Because we know that these are stressful times. I talked to a mom this week, and if it had not been for the Lord, I would have been distraught for this family. Her husband lost his job because of the vaccine mandate, and now her children are going to be ousted from their school because of the vaccine mandate. And she said, now what are we going to do? I don't even know if we have money to buy curriculum. And we were able to talk about options for her, free options for curriculum. And I was able to assure her, well, curriculum isn't going to be your biggest concern. But it's stressful. As I said, I hear the panic, I hear the stress in parents' voices. So Chia wants to be there to help families, as well as Family Protection Ministries as well. So we're not going away on this. We'll be writing our papers and contacting our legislators, and Lord willing, we'll have the victory in this. So I think, have we covered everything? Did you? And if I, looking back over my list, I think we've covered everything we wanted to talk about today. But no fear, there's going to be plenty for us to talk about later on in the month, with our president's direction to the Department of Justice and FBI that parents who voice their opinions at school boards could be labeled as domestic terrorists. So I don't know about you, but my daughters go to their local school board meetings, and they're not domestic terrorists. They're caring parents.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, there's not going to be a shortage of things for us to discuss, I'm sure, Rebecca.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I so appreciate your time. And I'll be popping links to the things that we've discussed in the comments below. And so thank you all for joining us. Thank you again, John, and thank you again, Nathan. And we'll see you again shortly.
Thank you, guys. Have a good weekend.
Yep. Thank you, John. Thanks, Rebecca.